It's 2:00 and I know we still have some folks coming in, but we only have an hour and we do have ground to cover. And this will not be the last time we do this. And this is being recorded. So you can go back and listen to it as you need to. Oh yeah, I see Tony, there we go. Welcome everyone. This is our all college update. I'm going to provide an overview, if you will, a 30,000-foot view of many things. And then the E-team is going to drill down a little bit and talk more about details within their areas. A couple of housekeeping items. We will give you the opportunity to submit questions for us to address after the session. We only have an hour for this, but we will answer those questions in the news brief that we're beginning to send out. So you won't have to wait another quarter to get the answers. We will answer any questions that are submitted via the news brief. So just FYI on that particular piece. And we, I guess, can now go into the land acknowledgement. DeAndre, would you please, sir?
Absolutely. Greetings to the community at this time. And I agree, before we get going, is there a way we can change the view? I think Jim has put it in the chat. We see it as the notes too as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's different. Let's see.
So as they're working on that, take a moment to breathe and read the land and labor acknowledgement within yourselves. And as we do that, perfect. And as we do that, we also want to ensure to take up space to honor our beloved Ukrainian and Russian community. As we think about what is going on, our hearts are filled with them and our thoughts are with you all as well. And as you read the land and labor acknowledgement, I am going to ring the bell one time for unity, for what is going on right now. For peace and for our community. Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to do a district and college overview, and then each of the members of the executive team will chime in and provide more detail. The information we're giving you today is as of March 1st. And so when we do this the next quarter, it will be as of that time, but we just want to make sure to keep you up to date on what's going on, not only across the district, but here at North, because much of what's happening at the district level, we are either involved in or it affects the college. I will repeat that there will be a link provided at the end of this session where you can anonymously submit questions or comments, and then we will answer those questions. We will answer the questions in the news briefs that our communications office is sending out, so that everyone can not only see the question, but the answer. And this is not a one and done. We will be doing this at least every quarter. So more updates are coming as they develop. So on the district-wide front, you all have probably heard about the single accreditation task force that was put together to explore what I assume the trustees have been discussing for years, is the possibility or what we look like as a singly accredited institution. So this time, I think we took an additional step and really did a deep dive and hired a consultant to do many things for us. There is an accreditation task force, and this task force is looking over providing feedback and looking over all of the information that has been collected. So the consultants have interviewed the trustees and received their feedback and answered their questions. There were student focus groups on each campus, and students were incentivized to participate. And so that work has been done. They held a focus group with community partners in the middle of February. And they've also collected comparative data from 5 peer colleges, Bellevue, Pierce Colleges, Spokane, Portland Community College, and Dallas County Community Colleges. And they're including all of the feedback from that information in the final report, gathered in the final report. So right now they're processing all of this information, they're putting it together, and they're going to present it to the Accreditation Assessment Task Force at the April meeting for vetting and for feedback. And then the final report will be submitted to the Board of Trustees in May, and we will step back and let them do whatever it is that they are planning to do with that information. We don't know that they're going to decide before summer. They may postpone it until fall, but what we know now is that we are planning to hand over the final result to them in May. DeAndre is going to talk to you all about the EDI restructuring. There's been a lot of conversation around that, but I do want to assure you that North Seattle College will continue to have a strong EDI structure. And DeAndre is going to go over some of the historical aspects of the EDI evolution within the Seattle colleges, and also talk to you about how EDI will be enhanced in this new structure here at North. We're also restructuring guided pathways across the district. We have excellent guided pathway leadership, and particularly here at North. Of course, I'm at North, so I will say that, but it's true. Amy is awesome. And we realized that the 3 colleges, even though we have a guided pathways team, we're basically on 3 different highways. And so at some point, these highways need to connect. And we recognize that, but we also recognize that maybe it wasn't happening as efficiently and expeditiously as it should be. And so we asked one of the guided pathways coaches to have a conversation with us about restructuring. And what we have done is we have put all 3 teams on a path to where at some point we will intersect and be on the same highway. And the executive sponsor of the new lead for Guided Pathways district-wide is Dr. Yoshiko Harden. So I refer to her as the executive sponsor of the Guided Pathways restructuring because each president, as you know, has another task within Seattle colleges that we are assigned. And so hers would be the Guided Pathway restructuring and leading that new team. And I am the executive sponsor for the financial aid unification or standardization, and Dr. Rosie Ramondo Cheransep at South is the executive sponsor for the admission standardization project. So recognize that all of these are to better align all of the colleges so that we are moving in the same direction. We may have different nuances to us moving in the same direction because of the different campus cultures, but it will put us all moving in the same direction. With regards to the financial aid and admission standardization piece, feedback that we've received from students over and over again is that when they go to another campus, something is different. We do things differently. They assume they're being admitted to Seattle colleges. And why do I have to do 3 different admissions apps? And why do I have to do things differently at financial aid at one college and not the other? And so as more students begin to take classes at all of our campuses, which we, through the Accreditation Assessment Task Force, found that we are approaching about 4,000 students who have swirled within the Seattle colleges. We recognize that we need to standardize some of our procedures and our protocols. And so that is something that we're working on. Some of you are a part of these teams who are working toward this goal. So we're really excited about that because it is student focused, and it really is what Guided Pathways is all about. Students being on a pathway and removing barriers. And we all know that financial aid and some of the admissions processes and all that are barriers to our students. They don't understand it, nor should they spend a whole lot of time having to understand it. You know, they're trying to get here, get a credential, get a job, have a better life. So you'll hear more on those projects as they progress. Greg is going to talk to you all about facilities and capital projects changes. We are looking at streamlining the capital projects reporting structure, if you will. We're not going to do a whole lot of building in Seattle colleges in the next few years. And so it gave us an opportunity to reevaluate capital projects and how we do what we do as a system. And the same thing with facilities. So Greg will talk more about that. You all have heard, it's no secret that the Board of Trustees has made it clear to the colleges that we just have too many administrators and that we need to look at reducing the number of administrators. So because North was in a place where we had so many interims and people just moving all over the place, we took advantage of that opportunity and are really ahead of the charge on this. We have worked very hard to look at every position. When people leave, we look at the positions and evaluate if it's the right position. And if not, what does that position need to be? You know, reevaluate the job description and move forward. So you will probably hear that district-wide, I think we have 9 VPs and we're being asked to go down to 6. So the presidents are working on that. Again, North is somewhat ahead of the game. We will have a vice president of instruction, absolutely. You all know that we have an executive dean of student success and not a vice president of student services. And we have an interim vice president of administration, and that structure is changing because of the changes that are happening at the district office. So you will hear more about that as well. With regards to the budget, which I know everybody is really interested in, yes, we have budget concerns. And yes, we have to make budget cuts this year. And we are working with all budget managers to figure out how we do that without creating what Pete refers to as a death spiral and also cutting into our core. That is not what we're here to do. But at the same time, we need a sustainable structure. We can't keep spending the same amount of money when enrollment is declining, but at the same time, we can't cut our way to stability. So we have to trim and we have to grow, which is what we are working to do. So just to give you an idea, this was shared at the last board meeting. So, you know, you could go back and actually see the vision of it or the visual of it in the board packet. For this year, we're expected to cut about 8% of the budget. And then for 23-24, we're expected to cut about 4%. So the reality is if we grow by 23-24, then maybe we won't have to cut so much. So you can see why we're having more and more conversations about enrollment growth. You will also hear that North has healthy reserves. We do. But if we do not cut our spending habits, those reserves will run out in about 3.5 to 4 years. And that is not a place where we want to be. So we need to reevaluate how we do what we do, protect our core and our mission, and be realistic about some of these changes. And at the same time, look at how we can grow. And coming out of COVID, that obviously means that we have to be nimble and listen to our community and our students and try to accommodate what the needs are. I don't think I talked about emerging from COVID, but that's okay. You all have heard about the changing mask requirements across the state and Clark County, geez. King County, it's another KC. Anyway, we're not changing anything just yet. We learned early this morning that even though the governor is doing what he's doing and that the county is doing what it's doing, we're not just knee-jerking and they're going to flip and change. They have made it, SBCTC has made us aware that the governor is working on a modified proclamation for higher ed, and it may be weeks before we get anything. So we are not knee jerking and responding, and we're evaluating the situation as things develop. Now we can go on to the next slide. Okay. Library renovation, it's happening. If you've been in or around campus, you see it's gutted pretty much, and it's exciting because it's going to be beautiful once it's done. And it looks like we're on schedule, and Greg will talk more about that. The anticipation is that they will be done in June of next year. And, you know, the time is quickly approaching. And so we're excited to see the completed project. Also know that I'm working with the Seattle Colleges Foundation and the North Seattle Community College Foundation to provide naming opportunities. In other words, to get people to donate to a certain part of the renovation for the library, and with possible naming opportunities. So, you know, we have I call it the little theater area, but the possibilities for that theater are numerous. And so if we can find someone who is interested in developing that area for us in such a way to where we can use it for community events and for student activity and all of the wonderful things that colleges do with little theaters, that would be a plus for us. And so I've been told by the Seattle Colleges District Foundation that they have donors who are very interested in the arts and who would love to look into that. So we're having those conversations, as well as sponsorships for classrooms in the library building. So we'll keep you apprised of that. We have a ways to go on the renovation, but we have to start the conversations now when we talk about working with donors and that kind of thing. So we're really excited about that. Affordable housing. You all have probably heard and seen the sign out there in front of the property regarding the affordable housing project with Bellwether Chief Seattle. It's still moving forward. There's just a lot going on. We have to work with the city on permitting and make sure that everything's legal, and, you know, make sure that our master plans are up to date and all of that. So those wheels are turning behind the scenes. And of course, there were community meetings to have conversations about, you know, how the community feels about having affordable housing in the area and associated with the college, as well as a longhouse. The Bellwether Chief Seattle was working hard to raise the money for the project. So those wheels are still turning. These things just take time, and we really aren't too far off schedule. So as things develop, we will absolutely share them. I think one thing that has changed since we last spoke was that it was going to be 220 units, but to preserve the trees and some of the plants and all of the things in the area, and to honor the wetlands, they decided to remove 20 units so that they wouldn't have to do so much damage to our trees and just this beautiful area that we have here. And so we're excited about that. It really doesn't affect the bottom line per se. The college does not own the housing, but we still own the land. And so it's a win-win for the community. It's a win-win for the college. So again, exciting times. And finally, we are making several organizational changes. As you know, we shared the student services organizational change with you. But one thing that we wanted you to know, and I said this earlier, is that we recognize that there is a great resignation right now. People are making different choices about their jobs, about their lives, and about their time. And so when we have situations where positions are vacated, we are reevaluating whether the position is as we need it to be. Some of us have been in our positions for 30 years, some for 10, some for 5. And that means that the job description may not be up to date. And so we are working with HR and working diligently to make sure that we have the right positions in the right places and doing the right things. So just know that that's happening. It may take a little longer sometimes for us to refill positions. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're not refilling them. We're just making sure that we're refilling the right position. And that's what any organization would do. So with that, Pete, there you go. We have instruction. Thank you all, and we'll double back toward the end.
Thank you
You're
for
up.
that transition, Dr. Crawford. I'm going to touch on two major topics and then give you some detail from those. For those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet, my name is Peter Lortz. I am the Vice President of Instruction here at North. It is good to see everybody, although it's still weird being on a fairly lonely campus. But the two topics that I wanted to touch on and give you detail on are, one, the budget planning approach for instruction, and then two, the organization and reorganizations that have occurred and are occurring connected to what Dr. Crawford just shared with us near the end of her part. So budget planning approach first. As Dr. Crawford shared, the Board of Trustees set a 3-year plan, 3-year target for the Seattle colleges to stop the spending from the reserves by 2023, 2024. And so we have 8%, as she mentioned, roughly, well, we have 8% for 22-23 and 4% for 23-24. Certainly that can be helped if we see an increase in enrollments, and I will talk a little bit about that as well. So in instruction, we actually started intensively 2 years ago with the request, and I know some of you were involved in this, the mandate, if you will, that each unit of the college look at and plan for a 15 or 20 or 25% budget reduction. And some of that was implemented, and some of that has continued to be part of plans that I have reviewed and am reviewing with the deans and then some of the faculty as well. For next year, for 22-23, we are projecting flat enrollments. In other words, we are projecting that the enrollments for next year will be the same for this year. We considered projecting an increase in enrollments, but based on the trends over the last 8 years, but really accelerated over the last 2 years, we have seen enrollment declines of about 10% each year for the last 2 years. And so a flat enrollment next year would actually be a reversal of that trend. Now, what that means is we are going to build a class schedule that reflects the flat enrollments that we're projecting. That means 10% less than what we had budgeted for this year. So the deans working with faculty as we start to think about summer and fall will use 21-22 enrollments and class schedules as a starting point, and then we will be able to respond up or down from that. On the administrative side, Shameen mentioned earlier great resignation and or transitions and departures. I'll talk in a little bit more detail, but over the past since I've been back at North, we have made administrative cuts in instruction each year. I'll give you some specific examples here with the later slides. As Shameen also mentioned, and as many of you, I've talked to many of you about this with, we cannot simply cut our way out of this budget situation. We have got to grow. And so that means we've got to invest. We are investing in all areas of instruction. Our Bachelor of Applied Science programs are overall, we're seeing an increased enrollment. So we are investing in those programs. We are bringing on new Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. I was just in a meeting this morning about that program. As another example, this year, we have a very successful we had a launch of a very successful fire science program. So just a small handful of examples of instructional programs. And then I also want to assure that we are continuing to invest in full-time faculty hiring. We have, it's either 6 or 7 processes that we hope to finish up before the fall before this next fall. Hiring processes. As some of you know, there is state legislation that'll help us fund those positions. And we have looked, the deans and I have looked in areas where we're either seeing growth or where because of a vacancy, because of a departure, we have a vacancy that we need to fill. Can I get the next slide, please? So in terms of the organization and reorganization of instruction, wanted to kind of provide information for a couple of the bouncing balls. As Shameen mentioned, we are looking at each position, each departure very intensely, and then making decisions about whether or not that we need to refill that position, or whether we can chunk apart the position and shift the responsibilities. So every time we have a departure, we take that task on. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Milena Llanos, who today is day 1 for Dr. Llanos. She is the new interim Dean of Workforce Instruction, the position that Aaron Korngiebel recently departed. Milena is on campus today. Appreciated the fact that in a couple of meetings, or in a meeting that I was in with her earlier, she is right away on campus and said she's had a chance to meet some people already. So Milena, welcome, and excited to have you as part of the team. So in workforce instruction, the decision was made to refill the position that Aaron Korngiebel left. In workforce education, sorry for my acronym there, WFE. In workforce education, John Lederer recently departed. The decision was made, we made the decision not to refill that position. And so what we have done is looked over the job description and chunked apart responsibilities, reassigned some responsibilities, and then some we have some of the responsibilities others will have to take on a less formal basis. So we will not be refilling that position. We will not be refilling John's position. Jeanette Miller has stepped up and will take on some of the workforce ed responsibilities. I will be taking on some of the responsibilities relative to workforce program growth. Michelle Molero has stepped up and stepped into the Bachelor of Science in Computer Science work. And there are other examples of folks who have taken on some of the work that was in the executive dean of workforce education. So that is an administrative position we will not be replacing. Next slide. I'll touch on Title III and enrollment services in the next slide. So can I get the next one? So 2 other big changes recently. One, Amy Brown and the Title III grant is now reporting to me, to the Vice President of Instruction. I want to re-emphasize that on the ground, you will likely not see any change in how we are moving forward with Title III and with Guided Pathways. The way that we had been working on this previously is every Monday, Amy Brown, myself, Tony Castro, now Ellis Mellon, DeAndre, and Ann Richardson have been meeting to as the Guided Pathways Title III leadership. Those meetings have continued. That process continues. And so despite the fact that Amy is now reporting formally to me, the 5 of us are still the group meeting together around guided pathways and Title III leadership. Also, with Tony Castro's departure, I have taken on enrollment services as a direct report. So Kathy Rhodes is now reporting to me. The main points that I want to emphasize with this shift is that enrollment services is still student services. So this does not mean that enrollment services is now instruction simply because of the reporting change. Kathy Rhodes and the team of Susan and Fleetwood and others, sorry, I'm blanking on all of the names, I can picture faces, are still within student services, still meeting and participating in student services, activities, planning, etc. The reporting has just changed. The other thing that I wanted to mention in Tam, I was thinking about you as well, Tam Wen. The other thing that I want to mention relative to enrollment services, be it registration, admissions, credentials, we are working hard on rebuilding capacity. Many of you have experienced the impact of some recent departures in enrollment services, and Kathy Rhodes and I know that job 1A right now is to get those vacancies refilled so that we can get the critical work of enrollment services done and rebuild that capacity. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Alice Melling.
Thank you, Pete. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see everybody. March 1, how did that happen so quickly? I'm Alice Melling, Executive Dean for Student Success, and I'll share a few student services updates, starting with our restructure. And as Pete mentioned, in the new student services structure, enrollment reports to the Vice President of Instruction, and departments that report to the Executive Dean for Student Services include counseling, running start, completion coaching, advising, disability services, and the unit led by Dr. Mary Acup Nash, student support services, which includes Student Life, the Child Care Center, the Roy Flores Wellness Center, Student Financial Services, and the One Stop Center. Mary Acup Nash provides leadership for the campus care team, student conduct, and student complaints. Current projects underway within the student support services include an analysis of reopening and planning for the Child Care Center and the Roy Flores Wellness Center. As you know, due to COVID, both of those centers have been closed for almost a couple of years. Of course, the instructional offerings continue to happen in the Roy Flores Wellness Center. But because of COVID, the center has been closed to student and community drop-in access. Go to the next slide, please. All righty. Brand Sanchez, working closely with Dr. Mary, Kathy Rhodes, student services team members, DeAndre Fisher, and the EDI team, and instructional and administrative services. This is a whole big village working on this project, is providing leadership for the implementation of the Campus One Stop. The goal of our Title III grant to redesign onboarding. The design has been informed by student survey and focus groups that happened during 2019 and 2020. And the feedback from that process, from those focus groups and survey, was to simplify the process for students, make it barriers, reduce pinging, and so inform the guided pathways onboarding and intaking subcommittee. And it's also centered in the guided pathways philosophy of helping students to get on the board, on their path and stay on their path. Go ahead and next slide, please. Thank you. So the goal for the One Stop is really a centralized and visible location on campus, offering both in-person and services, where students will receive personalized assistance on admissions, paying for college, areas of study, and preparing for a successful quarter. Students are encouraged to continue utilizing the one-stop navigation assistance and referrals to student engagement and student support services during their time at North. Thank you. For the next slide, thank you. Outcomes for the initial contact with the one-stop center would be that the admissions application is submitted. Students receive information on resources to pay for college. Students receive information on the knowledge on the areas of study. There are placement test options and prior credit evaluation process. So would RS learn about the new student orientation event and a student survey that's designed to identify referral resources for students so that there can be follow-up with the students to make sure that they're connecting with the services that are going to help to support their success. Slide, please. Okay. The one-stop outcomes follow-up contact includes CTC link account and Seattle College's email verification, student ID card, completed financial aid and workforce funding, referrals for scholarships and emergency aid, confirmed program of study, registered for a pathway group advising session. And again, students to student engagement opportunities and resources to help promote their success. The one-stop physical location will be on the second floor of the College Center building across from the student success area. Currently, the hiring processes for the one-stop specialists is nearing completion, and training plans for new staff are being finalized as well. We hope to bring the new team on early spring quarter and hope to do a soft launch with the one-stop. Still taking name suggestions for the one-stops. Many colleges in our system have a one-stop and often refer to it either as one-stop, or many of them actually use their college mascot and come up with a clever name. For example, Whatcom College's mascot is the orca, and they call their one-stop Orca Central. Cascadia's mascot is the Kodiak Bear, and their one-stop is called Kodiak Corner. So feel free to send Brianne, Dr. Mary, Kathy Rhodes, or me any to the name for the one-stop. So we are, so far, we've got some interesting ones, the pond, the lily pad. Again, we're trying to tie the name to our star mascot. Another major initiative happening in student services is the work of our counseling team and the mental health grant. North was one of 4 colleges in the Washington Community College system to receive a mental health grant. And over the next 2 years, North will receive about $250,000 to expand student access to mental health counseling services. This funding was a result of a bill that was passed in the Washington State legislation during the 2021 session. And kudos to Dr. Jenny Mao for her leadership and work on this initiative, and to Ann Richardson for her work and collaboration submitting as you've seen all the awesome things that are happening. The grant goals include meeting the developmental needs of our diverse students, closing equity gaps of vulnerable students who are least likely to seek counseling help, and addressing the longstanding pandemic effect of mental health on campus. Next slide. Thank you. The collaboration happening with this grant is just awesome. There's all kinds of engagement and leadership provided by our student leaders, collaboration with the Roy Flores Wellness Center, faculty, DeAndre Fisher and the EDI team, County United Way navigators. It's really happy to see all the great collaboration and all the programming that's coming out of the village coming together on these goals. This include, we were able to hire a third counselor, Emiko Minatoya Shields, to increase student access to counseling services, and have implemented programming called Let's Talk, which is informal, which provides informal counseling consultations that don't require appointments, and have allowed expanded counseling hours between 4 and 5 Monday through. Additional programming includes Fun Games Wellbeing Cafe, which is an informal weekly drop-in support group. Again, our student leaders have been very involved with programming such as the panels on, there was a panel, I think in January, on anxiety, depression. The upcoming one, the depression panel will be the happiness panel. Student leaders are very involved in a Mental Health Mondays Instagram. Health first aid training is available for staff, students, and faculty to participate in. And our Wellness Advisory Committee has been formed and has had their first meeting. And if you keep your eyes open, Dr. Jenny Mao sends out bi-weekly counseling bulletins that highlight self-care, self-compassion, and mindfulness. All of other initiatives include that this grant will help support include summer counseling and creation of a mindfulness space on campus as well. So I think one of the things we've certainly learned over the last couple of years is the importance of paying attention to our mental health and our mental well-being. And so please, let's get the word out about this awesome programming that for our students. One Stop and the Counseling Mental Health Grant are just highlights of two comprehensive student services initiatives that are aimed at increasing accessibility of services to students and also redesigning our services to better meet the needs of our students. Those are all of my updates for today. Again, it's great to see everybody, and I will go ahead and pass it off to Interim Administrative Services Vice President Greg Hinman.
Hey there, guys. Welcome, everyone. Today, Saru started, our budget director started day one with the Seattle Foundation. We will definitely surely miss him, but definitely want to say we greatly appreciated Saru and his work and contribution to North Seattle College. He'll be nearby, working with the Seattle Foundation as a partner, but we'll definitely miss him being with North Seattle College. Also want to introduce Johnny Mobley. He started day one today, former faculty member, teaching, I think, at both South and North Seattle College as an accountant coming from Baltimore. He started day one today as the interim director of budgeting. He's actually on campus, so if you get a chance, definitely tell him hello and welcome. In December, Terrence had briefed a 3-year plan in terms of sustainability. He talked about a 2.5% reduction in 21-22, a 5% reduction in 22-23, and then another 2.5% reduction for 23-24. This is for all 3 campuses. Now it's a 2-year plan. Now we're looking at a 2-year plan, and the concept is to tackle 2/3, 1/3. 2/3 in the first year being 22-23, and the second year being a third. The mandate being by the Board of Trustees is that we have to get to a point not using the reserve after the fiscal year 23-24. So currently with that, as we talked earlier, we're looking at, for us being a 2/3, 1/3, roughly $3.8 million for 22-23. That's being the 8%. And then another 1.9, roughly $2 million in 23-24 for a 12% total reduction. Comparable to the other schools, you have South looking at 1.1 million first year, and another 554,000 the second year, being 3% and 1%. And then Central is looking at 6 million the first year, and then the second year 3 million, total 9 million, 9% the first year and 5% the second year. Kind of going over what you may or may not know happened in terms of closing out 2020-21. We actually had a net loss of roughly 954,000. Compare that to Central, who had a loss of 8.2 million. So we're at this point now, quote unquote, that the 3 campuses, the district wide, we talked a little bit about the restructuring, but to be able, quote unquote, to stop using the reserve after 23-24. So obviously losing $1 million, that deficit comes up and is mitigated by using the reserve. The trustees have said after 23-24, we no longer can do that. What we're doing now is the budget development. Tomorrow, we'll go ahead and throw Johnny Mobley, so basically give him some grace. We'll meet with the instructional deans tomorrow and begin helping them with the budget development. You're looking at later this month, we should get from the district, the college share what we'll get from the district. Each campus should get that later this month. And then you're looking at later this month as well, the final state appropriation is expected to come down from the state in terms of estimates for 22-23. And then you're looking at proposing that then with the CEC, which is the Chancellor Executive Council. They'll meet in April and they'll provide a different guidance. And then a week later, so that's going to be around the 4th, 11th of April. And then the 18th of April, roughly, to the 28th of April, submitting then the budgets that we'll actually submit to the district. Looking at May being the first read of the budget for the Board of Trustees, and then June the 2nd in approval, quote unquote, and then implementation for 1 July to begin the fiscal year 22-23. So I would acknowledge it's a very aggressive schedule, but we've gotten to the point in recent years we're going actually past the calendar year, past January. We're actually looking at the new budget when actually the fiscal year, for those who may or may not know, is July 1st to June 30th. And so there's a hard push to be able to have the approved budget by the Board of Trustees by July 1st, the beginning of the fiscal year. So a lot of work to be done with that. Again, we'll be meeting with the instructional deans and definitely welcome their partnership and appreciate all the deans and the faculty do. Again, we'll be throwing Johnny straight into the fire tomorrow. So definitely ask for grace with that. We'll go to the next slide. So library renovation. So plan was put in place by the North Seattle College in 2016. Had the pre-design that went in place for the biennium of 2017 and 19. We spent roughly a little less than $3 million for the pre-design. How the biennium works, we basically now in the construction phase, it'll be 21 and 23. Notice to proceed by Lincoln Construction started November 1st of this year. As we talked about, seeing the construction there on site, and is due to be completed within the biennial by June 2023. Just kind of FYI, I spent a lot of technical time meeting with construction architect today. I actually had a meeting with an enclosure consultant, and you're like, what the heck is an enclosure consultant? An enclosure consultant is basically, we have an architect and so forth, but it's actually what separates the inside of a building from the outside of a building, a window, a roof. So those are type things that I get to do on your behalf. I did that today. We actually was meeting. Most of the things been done so far. It's been a lot of demo. But some of the things that definitely look forward to, an auditorium that should be state of the art and 4 classrooms that we'll actually be able to bring. We talked about the formal study spaces, active learning environment. So this is definitely a huge endeavor for North Seattle College, and something that we definitely should be proud of, to be able to welcome to our students. Next slide. So this is in terms of facilities. So some of you may have or may have not noticed, you had people coming into your workspace and said, who the heck are these people? But we were working with McKinstry. They do energy efficiencies. They were doing, you should have seen different lighting in your spaces in terms of LED lighting. We did a duct ceiling. I think just in the structural building alone, there was over 100 doors. We actually, in terms of working to be able to seal in those type of things in terms of the air. Those are type things we actually are now doing another guardrail installation and so forth, that we'll be doing that kind of phased over time. And then we talked about the Title III, being able to work with Amy Brown and Pablo at IT, right there by the transitional library, but also going to be something we should be proud of with the students, have that there on the ground as well. And then as well, we've had the signage. For those you may or may not know, we spent $70,000 fixing our signs, and definitely want to give kudos to Fitz and the way signage committee for all that they've done with that. And definitely just in general, want to give kudos to facilities and security. We talked about return to campus, but they've been here the whole time trying to make sure that it's safe and beautified for the campus. So definitely want to give them kudos and appreciation for that. We talked about some of the reorg. You're talking about the facilities director. One of the things they're looking at doing now in terms of reorg, say roughly around $100,000. A reorg in terms of planning policy procedure, moving that process up to district, being able to manage capital projects. The facility director would actually report there, be a district personnel, but with liaison to the president. Kind of think of what Josh Ertz does now for Dr. Crawford. He's actually a district employee, but you see him on site, on campus every day, working hand in hand with Dr. Crawford. That would be the same thing we actually will have with the facilities director. As well as you'll have in terms of a program manager that will report directly to facility director, again, working as a district employee, but those are people that actually work on in terms of helping with the invoices and those type things, accounts payable and so forth. The capital projects is actually again on MRF into a district level, being reduced from having a capital project manager on, if you remember Ben Howlett, the great job that he did, the capital projects manager will now be at the district level and reporting directly to the facility director there district. And so you'll have assistant director of facilities that will be on campus working with the crews, the custodial, the maintenance, the ground teams, and so forth. That person will be there every day, working directly on the campus site, but reporting to the director of facilities there district. I'll go ahead and pass it now on to DeAndre Fisher.
Many thanks. Greetings, beloved community. Andre Fisher, he, him pronouns, Associate Vice President for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Recognizing the time, I'm going to move as quickly as possible, but still give me grace. As we get going, here is the timeline from what it was already presented through the Chancellor's chat, predating me. Many of you in the community have been long partners in understanding equity, diversity, and inclusion. What we have now seen is in 2017, we had many of you all use your voices to recognize that our institutions really need to capitalize on the importance of equity, diversity, and inclusion. With that being said, that's when the job of the Associate Vice President of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion was created, to bring on my beloved colleagues, Dr. B, Dr. Hunt, and myself. This was because of you all. We are here now within our 3 years of our tenure of being here. I hope to show you the work that we've done in North Seattle College and the work that we continue to do with the support that you all have provided. We've created a 3-year strategic plan for the district while understanding the importance of adopting leading with racial equity, which maximizes the students' potential to transform lives and bring a culture of belongingness to advance racial, social, and economic justice for our diverse community. Next slide, please. As you all are, many of you may be aware, this was the structure right before me. Each president was at the campuses, and there was a diversity director at South, as you can see, that reported to the student services vice president, but at North and at Central always reported it to the directors. Upon my arrival, as many of you may know or may not know, that the EDI office at that time was dismantled and broken. The community was harmed and hurt. And I know you all remember that. So I had to ask, an EDI office had to ask the questions of what will it take to build the trust and heal the community? What is the institutionals and the community's true commitment to EDI? How do we make sure that equity, diversity, and inclusion is the core of this mission? And what will it take for the equity, diversity, and inclusion campus stakeholders to ensure that this work and pedagogy would always be prioritized? And then how do we build an anti-racist institution? That was the goal after coming in. Next slide, please. What we have seen is now when our positions was created in 2018, thank beloved Dr. Rosie, as the president of South, was also the vice chancellor of EDI, so I give her honors. With that being said, you can see the structure. Dr. B was in the role, is still in the role at South. Me at North, a director and one person, and then also at Central, you see the structure. This structure came along with my beloved colleagues, and I honor them. Next slide, please. What has happened now? Connecting and making sure that we institutionalize equity, diversity, and inclusion within the campus culture. We see present the impacts on COVID have been very, very hard for many of our community members, as you all know. The winter in 2021, we really created the equity, the racial equity, actually, 2023 plan, leading with racial equity. And then, as some of you may know about the new bills that, the legislative new bills that really help build this work in the infrastructure. We have millions of dollars coming to our system. It is important that we understand where that money is coming and how that money is to support and build up EDI. The importance of equity cannot wait. How do we ensure that it is not waiting while still making sure that there's work to be done? And then we had discussions. If anybody knows in this work, you have to be prepared for everything. And I mean everything. What is the past taught, or what does the past teach us? We've already seen that. What is the present revealing us, and what is the future demanding on us? Did I know this was coming? Absolutely. Did EDI know this was coming? Absolutely. Did we plan for it? Absolutely. And I'm going to show you how we planned for it. Next slide, please. Wait a minute, go back. Next slide. There it is. So many of you don't know the structure, and this is the structure. If you think about the 2 slides I just showed you, when I've come here in 2017, 2018, thank you, okay. Journey wants to make sure y'all understand too as well. When we came here, it was just one person and myself. Belinda made sure, and I want to give honor to the partnership and the unwavering support from our beloved community. We got here, and this structure is here because of you all, because of us. It took a village and it took a community. So I also want to take time to give the flowers while they're due, and that is right now. The gratitude and appreciation to the people that helped us, that are still here, and even the past, like Tomoko, like Christy, like Julius. We still honor you. It is the biggest honor and privilege to do this work with this beloved community. So I thank you all. Dismantling a broken system and inequity within the system of instructors has been strategic and has taken time, but you have to understand, you have to do it very quietly. Why? Because we knew this time would happen. So where if it was dismantled before, it will be dismantled again. And as you see this structure, what you will not do is dismantle it because of the work that you all and we all did. So if you go dismantle it, you go dismantle something real big. And that is something that we had to make sure to feel. And we did it quiet, because you have to do it quiet, because if they realize what you're doing, then they will dismantle it before your eyes. So we were ready and we knew it. And I see my computer. Let me close my things. I'm going real. Hold on. I'm pausing. Take my time. Give me some grace. 1 second. So what does that mean? The critical stakeholders of the faculty, staff, our indigenous community, our partnership with UNEA, our partnership with student services and multicultural programs, the president's unwavering commitment, institutional research, BST, instruction, the TILT work, 100-day projects, civic engagement committees, social justice and intersectionalities committees, the art gallery, first year experience, trauma-informed care, communications office, and LSM is most definitely to be praised and be honored in this space. The faculty, staff, and student engagement was earned. Nothing was given to EDI. Nothing was given to our family. We earned this respect, and we ask you all to give us grace as we go through the hardest times that we may never see again, that we hope we don't see again, but that we're going through. We love you and we thank you, beloved community. Next slide, please. What does it mean to truly make institutional change, connecting equity, diversity, and inclusion to this campus culture? We at EDI had to understand that institutional success has to be measured by the success of our students who face the greatest amount of systematic barriers to completion. We have to understand that the depth and the history of inequities and racist policies and practice underlining higher education in the United States, we have to commit to address and correcting these injustices and practices. So you see this timeline, you see what we have done, you see what is coming up before us, and we need your help to understand that we got to recognize and correct these systems that have harmed our BIPOC community, our students of color. We have to do this, and it will take intentional action both immediately and over time. Just give us the time, please. Give us the grace that you've done in 3 years. We've shown you what we can do, and we believe that we will do it even more. We are the model in the state of Washington. We are the second largest institution of EDI in the state of Washington. Many don't know that because it was silenced when you have to move this work. You can't tell everybody your work because they will be harming your work if you tell them too quick. We will do better. We must do better. We must mobilize. We must also implement. We must also institutionalize. So the voices that the faculty and staff have been brought up right now, please continue to be there because we need you more than ever right now. Thank you. And last slide, please. This is the structure. This is the structure that we planned for. This is what you see But what you also see is the structure of EDI at North does not even hold the capacity of what the district EDI capacity will hold. And our president has committed and promised us that we will keep this same structure and even grow it. So I thank you for your time. I honor the EDI family. I honor our beloved community, because without you, we cannot be here. And it is your commitment and dedication that we do this work. And I now pass it on to Josh. Thank you, beloved Josh.
Thanks, DeAndre. I don't know that I can follow that, but I will try. And for those of y'all who know me, I can talk really fast, and I want to be mindful of the time. So if you have to dip out, I know we said we were running till 3. That's fine. We understand, appreciate that. This is being recorded. For those of y'all who don't know, I'm Josh Ernst, he, him, his pronouns. I am our HR director up at North. I am, to put things in perspective, this is 2 years and 2 days ago was when I had my on-campus forum. So a little bit of full circle timing to come back and share with y'all a few things, structural changes that HR has also undergone in the 4 years since we were centralized and consolidated at the district office. As Greg mentioned earlier, some folks don't realize this, is that HR is actually a unit of Siegel, and I help support y'all, right? I report not directly to Dr. Crawford. 4 years ago, we were rolled up. And highlight some of the changes and some of the things we've done to, support the equity work. DeAndre's done some opportunities we've had, given some changes in our area as well. Next slide. So as just kind of a general level set of, because we hear people say HR is actually 3 components. So I want to just highlight that it's not just campus HR. It's not just your team at North, which is me and James Grigsby, who's our new HR business partner, who replaced Melissa Pond, who had been with us for about 3 years, who left us to go back to her alma mater for a promotional opportunity at Wazoo. It is the campus HR teams. It's your team at North, the 2 of us, the team at Central, Scott and Shane, the team at South, Tim and Joy, the team at Siegel, which we'll talk about a little bit. It's also the HR operations team, payroll, right? They are part of HR, right? Benefits team, the CTC Link HCM pillar, right? The compliance team, health and safety is actually a part of HR. A lot of y'all don't realize that all the heavy work Crystal and Michelle have been doing, that is part of the HR team as well. Next slide, please. I saw Dr. Crawford mentioned in the chat. Following up with the email, there'll be a link to the current organizational charts at North as of March 1st that are published on Inside. It will no longer be the old school, what we call the stick figure diagrams. But that link's going out to the group. Then some of the things Greg was talking about are not finalized, right? So just know that some of those district things aren't necessarily done yet. To bring it back to what DeAndre was talking about, and also what Pete and Dr. Crawford and other folks talked about, when vacancies happen, realizing how we can reposition and retool positions to better meet our goals, right? So a prime example, some of y'all may have seen that we recently posted for a Director of Diversity of Recruitment and Retention. That is to help further the goal related to about 50% of our hires being BIPOC, individuals historically underrepresented racial and ethnic minorities, right? We originally were approved for actually an associate director, but some of y'all may know Sylvia Juarez, who I want to give props for, who was in my seat before I came and was also the business partner in North, had an opportunity that was the right opportunity for her career, and left us about 2 months ago. So we had the opportunity to elevate that associate director, diversity, recruitment, and retention, to elevate it, to recognize the important work that's going to do to serve all of us. That's going to serve North, South, Central, Siegel, the district office, because we know that passive recruitment isn't going to help us meet our goals, right? It takes active recruitment. It takes more than just posting jobs. It takes, going out, shaking hands and making connections, talking about why people need to come work and will want to come and should want to come work for Seattle colleges, right? So with the opportunity to instead of refilling the position held by Sylvia, that associate director, we were able to elevate that other director level role and then create essentially a business partner role to help support with those transactional actions that support that the staff in our district office, that our support folks, our international program staff who are at North, our IT folks, that need that other part. So that's just one example of ways that we're reevaluating positions and retooling them to help us meet our goals. Next slide. Another, just note, because this change has been in effect for a little bit, but we're still seeing some questions. Those of y'all who've been around for a while know that the HR operations team, the payroll team, it used to go to a person depending on your employment classification. So you had a question, if you were classified, you went to Linda Brazil. You were faculty or exempt, you went to Young Lim, right? There were different folks for different things. CTC Link helped make us become more tightly coupled in the payroll realm, right? And also to eliminate single point failures, right? That we've moved to a model where you have a payroll partner for each campus, right? So if you have payroll questions, you don't have to figure out, okay, who do I go to because what's my classification, or, I'm a part-time faculty, but I'm also part-time hourly. You can go to Young Lim. Young is our payroll partner for North. If you can't remember that, I'm going to talk about this in a second. Inside Seattle Colleges has all the information, all your contacts for these folks. If you have benefits questions, right, depending, part-time faculty or full-time faculty, that is all on who to contact in there, as opposed to having to send an email to hr.north@Seattle Colleges or to me or James, and then us having to forward you on to Alan or to Michelle or to Linda in benefits, right? Also, you may have noticed that we've had some other vacancies posted. We're creating 2 customer service level support roles in the payroll team. We've had some other vacancies, so we were able to take some positions and make them more focused on things like verifications of employment and those transactional things that folks can't necessarily do for themselves in the systems, but that require more expediency that, folks who are tied up in meetings all day can't necessarily get to. So we're reevaluating those on multiple fronts. Next slide. Couple other quick reminders, and I'll go through these real quick. I'm going to take advantage, since I have an audience, to just remind folks, Inside Seattle Colleges is your friend. Historically, it didn't necessarily have a heck of a lot of relevant information. The HR team has spent a lot of time, start to finish, soup to nuts, your recruitment process, your position requisition process is in there, employee lifecycle processes, all that information is in there, with how-to guides, with what to click where in CTC Link to make those requests, right? One other quick reminder, because I know sometimes emails are missed. If you're looking for payroll emails, for those of y'all who've been around for a while, you always look for those emails from Susan Engel, who was with us for about 11 years. She had an opportunity that worked well for her over at UW. So keep an eye out for emails from Elizabeth Butler. She goes by Annie. Just in terms of keeping an eye out on payroll updates, those are important, right? And we know that sometimes those get missed. A couple other notes that we've heard concerns about onboarding processes. We've retooled our onboarding process a little bit with the retirement of Liquid Office eForms. There's a new replacement tool called OnBase that we are meeting weekly, if not more frequently, with our IT team. So I saw John Davis on here earlier, so I want to give kudos to John and Rick Harper-Peck for working with us as we move that process forward to have a permanent replacement for eForms and to tighten up our business processes. But just know that onboarding is still handled primarily by your North Campus HR team. We do have interns who are helping us initiate background checks and that sort of stuff to help keep those things moving. But your I-9 verifications, that is all still your North Campus HR team. Next slide. Oh, we hopped over to.
Hey, you did it. Or did we skip a slide?
Nope, that was it. I wasn't sure quite what I had at the end. Just trying to fly through it.
Okay, well, that's our update for this quarter. We will have another update. There'll be lots to report, I'm sure. The feedback form is also, I guess, for feedback and questions. If you have questions that you were not able to ask, you can submit those questions anonymously. The link is on the slide and it is also in the chat. Thank you very much for that, Rocky. And just kudos to everyone who has made it through these challenging times. We are serving students. We have emerging leaders at North that are incredible and are making a difference across the district. We appreciate your patience, your grace, and let's just hold on to each other and keep forging forward as best as possible. We have challenges ahead, there's no question. But I am confident that the leadership team here at North can help us be okay on the other side. So when you get the opportunity, speak up, and let's be kind to each other. So thank you for showing up today. We really appreciate it.